Okay, we've done a lot of this. We know the drill, but this is 1 million cups. Willkommen. We have need you to have your coffee and or other waking beverage or herbal tea in fun swag. 1 million cup swag. This is fun. Now, this is important. Keep this in mind for in a little second because we have some exciting news. So thanks for coming. Welcome. Get your drinks. We've had a bit of a chat about geese and things. Here's our social media stuff so that you never ever forget us, because we're so, once you come once though, you're never gonna forget us. We're an unforgettable group of people. I have some great and exciting news for you today. So we're just gonna go through this quickly. Next week is a 3rd anniversary for Seattle 1 million cups. All right. Now, we were a little nervous and we're holding back a little bit on talking about it because we weren't sure about the phase 2 like rollbacks that might have happened. However, news dropped Tuesday that there won't be anything changing for at least 2 weeks. So in the very least, we'll definitely get our little celebration going on next week in person. So what that looks like is at the Collective Seattle. If you haven't been there, it's downtown. Well, South Lake Union, actually, not downtown. I lie. Much nicer. And we've had that venue before. It's going to be very COVID friendly and safe still. We'll have a separate area called Alpenglow, and then we will be sitting socially distant. Only like max amount of 20 people will be able to come. So there'll be like an RSVP situation, but it doesn't matter if you can't come in person for the actual presentation because there's more. So the presentation at 9 a.m. will be online as usual. No one's going to miss out, we promise. But we'll have a group of us actually in person. At least the 1 million cups organizers will be there, and we hope to see other people who are excited to catch up and see each other in real time. And then we'll watch the presentation together and do it all together on our own computers in this room. And then afterwards we'll have real life breakout rooms with real people right near you where you can talk to them and hear them without like weird wait and hold on and and then that will be in and of itself exciting. Still remember, if you can't make it online, we'll still have Zoom breakout rooms, so you will not miss out on any of your normal connecting. And we'll keep that going. And then afterwards, if you couldn't make it to the presentation, or if you're still there, we're going to party on all day in a way only entrepreneurs know how to do, which is by working on our businesses and drinking free coffee. So we're going to have free coffee and a whole day at the Collective of celebrating by hanging out, chatting, vibing with our fellow entrepreneurs. And then, so you're more than welcome to come all day through for the Collective to anytime you're ready and have a space in your calendar for the day. And there'll also be some swag to give away. So you can rep your 1 million cups family all around the place, and more fun Zoom calls with your cups. And then, maybe stickers and stuff when we get more in-person activities. So that's the plan for now. We'll send out emails with more of that information and ways to RSVP, but we wanted you to know so you could put it in your calendar because I bet you're really excited just like us. Now, that said, and I know that's really exciting, but we're going to have to forget that for one moment and leave that aside because we have an awesome presenter happening today. And now we just need to run through the basics of who we are if you've never been here before and what we do. So we're all about this sharing ideas. We're all about offering help to each other, asking for help, and building community in as many ways as we can, even in this challenging COVID time, online and then hopefully back in person. We do like to drink coffee. If you're not a coffee drinker like moi, I'm not allowed to drink coffee. I love coffee, but it sends me bonkers. I obviously have enough energy as it is. You'll love this community, and you'll be able to turn up in person at some point again and support each other in our entrepreneurial journeys. So what's different about us to other presentations? We're a zany group of people who love to do presentations instead of pitches. So we instead of in a networking event, you're more like, what can I do for you? What can you do for me? It's instead of what you can do for me, it's what can I do for you? We like to connect, and we like to share our ideas and help each other with our needs in our own business. And that's where the real work gets done. We try very hard to be radically and intentionally inclusive. And if you have any suggestions on how to help us be more radically and intentionally inclusive, please let us know. We want everybody who is interested in entrepreneurialism, no matter where they are in their journey or where they're coming from, to feel like they can present and show up here with us. So we're all over the nation. There's a lot of communities. Some of our other Cuppa members have been to presenting today in other places around the country. So that's super exciting that we can do that. One good thing about Zoom. And we are after education, presentations, and connections. So this is the space that you'll be going to if you come for our next foray into fun on Wednesday. And we've had a lot of people present here. It's a beautiful space, and we can't wait to actually do something in person. Oops, sorry, jump forward. And what makes those presentations and these events happen is all our amazing volunteers. We are a nice, lovely team of 6, but we're always looking for more people. And so if you are interested, do get in contact with us. We're very excited to have our newest recruit, Kareem, here, and we'll keep celebrating you so that you never leave us. Okay, what to expect today? Coffee and or tea, conversations. Like, you always get educated here on things like how to get rid of your goose problem. We've already done that. Now we're going to jump into a 6-minute presentation by our awesome presenter today, Stefanie from Counterweight. And then after that, we'll have a 20-minute Q&A with all the questions that are busting out of you that you want to ask, and you help and advice that you want to give. And then after that, there will be breakout rooms, and you can go and keep chatting about Stefanie's work, or you can chat about whatever you need to and connect with some of the other participants here. Now, just a quick rundown on how to be a supportive listener while Stefanie's doing her presentation. Let's limit distractions as much as possible, like phones down and like not 17 tabs open or 55 or however many I have right now. Think about what stands out for you. What's that? Oh yeah, that in your mind. Think about what that is, and then maybe something that you might want to know more about. Or perhaps, wanting to share what you know and your expertise, and Stefanie might have a challenge that you could address with your knowledge and skills. And then let's stay away from telling people how and what they should do, because we don't know what other people should do. We barely even know what we should do ourselves sometimes. And we try and use questions like, how about this? What about that? Have you thought of X, Y, Z? And that helps keep it very open and an opportunity to explore many possibilities. So that's great. When you are ready to ask a question, the raise hand is slightly moved, and it is now in the reactions tab. And so you just click on that to raise your hand. And if you're finding trouble with that, wave around, and also feel like message us. If we don't see you waving around, message us in the chat, and we will follow up and you can ask a question, because sometimes it doesn't work. Okie dokie. That's too far. Let's go over and let Stefanie do her awesome things. I'll stop sharing. I'll let you share your screen, Stefanie. And we'll get you unmuted.
There we go.
Great. And I will let you take it away.
Thank you, Tessa. I'm making sure right now that PowerPoint is not going to get me in trouble. Okay. So I'll try to keep everyone in sight. Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to tell you a story, but first, my name is Stefanie McKellar. I'm the marketing director of Counterweight Media, and I go by marketing director, even though I'm technically the owner, because it has the nice privilege titling to not always represent the owner or to have wonderful spam mail or phone calls all the time asking for advice in terms of other things. But anyway, so we are we're a content marketing and digital marketing firm, but I don't really want to emphasize or look into exactly what we do, but how we got here. Mainly because my question today is to talk about our story in terms of our overall growth, and then get a little bit feedback of kind of our evolution and see what you guys think for our next step. So I'm going to go back to the very beginning of when this first became a concept. I used to go to University of Washington, and at University of Washington, I was very much part of the entrepreneurial community. Before I graduated, I was in a number of different startups. I was even, in fact, in a number of tech startups. And I did an internship for about a year with a marketing company. I was excited. I was out there to get started in the marketing space. And so I got my first job essentially with a company that was up in Renton. It was a signage and printing company, and I was their business development manager. And as the business development manager, they told me, hey, you know what? You got 90 days, prove us what you have. We're a company that's been 1 to 2 years around. Help us with our marketing, do sales, and it could be a bigger position. So I was really excited, and I was like, okay, this is real marketing. This is what I've went to college for. I went with other startups. They're a company that will need me. So I started doing everything from, I built their website. I started writing articles every single day. We published 1,200, 1,500 word count articles every single week. I did social media. I answered the phones. I did sales. I went to Chamber of Commerce. I did everything. I was excited. I was like, awesome. This is going to be great. They're going to be so excited. And then one day, my boss pulls me aside to his office and tells me, Stefanie, you're fired. And I was devastated. I asked, why? Well, we have the website. We did the sales. What happened? And at the time, he told me, well, this Facebook post wasn't up to our standard of quality. And shocked, trying to keep it all in, I decided, okay, I guess, what am I supposed to do? I guess I pack my stuff and I just go. It wasn't until later I found out that I was just number 3 in the 10 months this company was open, who was a college student, who was doing marketing, who they decided to hire after 90 days before commission or everything, that we'll go on to the next one. And so in that drive back of someone who was really excited, first salary position marketing, and going, oh my gosh, what am I going to tell my family? I was 2 months before I got married. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to tell my husband I lost my job. And in that time, I got pissed. I got absolutely mad. I was just, I took stuff on the weekend for this company. What happened? I thought I did marketing. And so I shouldn't do this, but while I was driving, I ended up looking up ads on Craigslist and Indeed and everything. And I just started calling people. I was in the car. I was like, hey, do you need a marketing person? I called people with the same position at the time. And essentially what happened was that someone said, sure, we'll talk to you next week. And that's how it sort of started. And I decided, you know what? I didn't want to do the website, the receptionist, the person who ran to all the different BNI or networking meetings. I didn't want to do all that. I wanted to do marketing. And so I took a long time ago a business plan idea, because this was the age where social media was starting to be the late adopters for most small businesses. I decided, you know what? Instead of doing a job where I have to call people, do sales calls and everything, I want to just do marketing. So essentially I said, hey, instead of hiring me, why don't you have me on retainer? I'll just do the marketing portion to make sure I really focus on the marketing part for you. And you can pay me half. You don't have to worry about payroll. And if you're unhappy with my work, then move on. And that's where essentially, at the time, Social Clicker happened. So Social Clicker was our agency name at the beginning. And the idea was at that time was that a lot of small businesses who are late into the social media scene, mainly Facebook, decided that, hey, maybe we should get onto this. Maybe there's some people who are actually doing stuff. They're getting some return on investment, but we don't want to hire an additional marketing person. So that's where this idea became an actual company. We started to actually receive retainers. In fact, one of those people I called on my drive back ended up being a $2,000 retainer, essentially from that drive. And so we just kept building from there. And social media was exciting. Again, it was easier for people to get understanding in terms of, hey, there's my brand. They're going out reaching people. But then stuff kind of changed in that first year. In 2016, one of the big noticeable changes I saw was the agency environment. So agencies around this time with branding and social media and advertising varied from the small one-stop, small place guru, your nephew, so on and so forth, all the way up to the large advertising agencies. And in 2016, one of the largest advertising agencies in Seattle went bankrupt, and that was Creature at the time. And that was shocking to me as another agency owner was, wow, the model of the agency is essentially dying. How do we survive? We're just in startup phase. How do we get to the next level? I don't want to do the same model as these bigger companies. And so we decided to focus on what I would call the mid-market, which means the companies who couldn't hire a full-time marketing person, but also who didn't want the expertise of someone who only had a small amount of talent in one area, such as one on social media or one on one direction. As well as we also found out during this time that a lot of the people we were working with, one, we built a relationship because we actually understood their brand. We talked to their customers and we created content. Was even though we did all this wonderful social media work, we sent it to a really crappy website. And that was where the website development arm started to begin, where I actually became our first lead developer. And I ended up being an open source developer. And we started getting into obviously WordPress is a mainstay, but Magento, Drupal, Joomla, all of the different open source we would do. We started doing troubleshooting. And so it became more of an extension of a solution was how do we get these small, medium-sized businesses to have a marketing arm that essentially they would be able to move forward and actually become a larger company from it. Instead of hiring someone, instead of having an entire team, they would contract a smaller amount with a team of us. Now, over the next couple of years, we realized that for us, social media wasn't the main solution. It was just part of the solution, because usually what started with the solution was creating that website hub to actually have somewhere to put content, distribute content, and actually get people in front and in the door. We also started getting a lot of customers in trade. So trade, if it's HVAC, electrical, pest control, there's not a really good reason for them to be on social media. They're not suddenly taking pictures of bad plumbing and saying, hey, go share it, it's going to be awesome. So it didn't make sense to them. So at that point, we looked at the situation and we decided, well, social media isn't really what we're doing anymore. We're doing these websites, we're doing stuff to get found. We started doing more because of our own website to get found, but also other customers. We started doing search engine optimization, which then got into actually hiring our talent on our team was writers. And so people didn't like doing content. That's where we came into content development. And then we started doing search engine optimization. And of course, to package all of it up, you have to put it on a website. And so from that point, we sat with our team in early 2018. And we sat and we said, you know what, we need to come up with something that's going to symbolize our relationship with these small, medium-sized businesses. We're kind of like their marketing arm, but we're also telling them either they're going to have a social strategy with product advertising or a community, or we're going to have a search strategy with search engine optimization and organic and PPC. You know what? Okay, wait, that's kind of a balance. You have to choose between social or search. And so that's what then created Counterweight Media. So the name Counterweight came on the idea that we would be the counterweight to the team of the business owners that were involved in marketing. And that's where the whole logo concept came from, that essentially that we were basically the balancing act between search and social. And from there, we did really well. We had a number of customers. We had basically the right type of customer in terms of mid-market. They were big enough companies to take on retainers that were a couple of grand a month. We had some customers that we were willing to also work with that were in the hundreds of dollars a month, as opposed to very peanut sized levels, so to speak, but also websites that range from anywhere from our starting small stuff to like $1,500 upward to I've done builds of 20K. And I've even partnered with other backend developers to do larger builds than that. So we found our niche, essentially. We found out that we were best to help support businesses who couldn't hire a team, but wanted the luxury of a team, wanted the talent of the team that would be able to drive their business. Now, there's been pros and cons in this strategy. One is that we actually help a market where those people are typically the ones who get, lack of a better word, burned by developers multiple times before they actually get to a website or get into a general strategy that would actually help their company. So usually we get people who are wary in terms of in terms of any type of social media or search engine optimization. And we decided to change our model to be very transparent, show all type of analytical reporting, prove everything that we do. And that became our product offering. The problem was, and the problem I'm kind of talking about here today, is that we do this very well. We have a number of customers we worked with a number of years. We've had a number of case studies with these customers for a very long time. One customer in particular, in 3 years, we've increased their revenue in search alone over $1 million in annual revenue. So in the case of our portfolio is good, it's strong, but that is a lot of time, which is the crux of the problem, is that we love our customers. We have a wonderful relationship with our customers, but a build out, a content strategy, an SEO strategy in terms of what the market will bear is somewhere takes 3 to 4 months just to do the website. And then it could take a year for that entire search strategy for organic to actually take place, which doesn't help my company grow. We help really well on helping our customers' companies grow. But in our case, our mid-market, though we have customers, we're not getting a lot of what I consider cash flow. We had some ideas in terms of changing that. We started doing our own maintenance and hosting in order to make sure that customers didn't get some really bad hosting with Bluehost or HostGator. We had, hey, we're going to buy servers and we're going to do that infrastructure. We'll maintain it. So we were able to find cash flow in different methods as well as retainers. But every headcount of every capacity of dollar, in order to get people the return on investment for them to see, is a lot of time. And so from a growth standpoint, right now we're a team of 5, full-time 5 employees. We have partnerships with other agencies as well as other developers. But from a cash flow perspective, in terms of trajectory, we're really going slow, mostly because we have customers, again, with these big projects, big project-based work, but we're just not getting enough in terms of, I feel, in terms of smaller stuff, cash flow into the bank. There's not enough where I feel comfortable to hire another employee or to expand in a different area or to—
I'm going to jump in and just let you know, like, I think like we're going to be running out of time shortly, and I want people to get you like a good Q&A session. And so if, from what I'm understanding, I'll actually, we've got a really good broad overview, like not broad, we've got a good view of like how you've got to where you are and the process of how you get your clients and the kind of clients you have now. And so you feel like you're at a stuck point with your kind of this changing the cash flow situation versus like giving the level of service and the kind of product differentiator that you have. There's like a balance challenge for you. Is that kind of right, what I'm saying? Like that you have a particular viewpoint that like this is what sets you apart from the other marketing organizations in this particular niche area, but it's taking a lot of investment of your time and energy and not really creating a lot of cash flow just due to the nature of that intensity. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to open it up for questions. We have, and just remember, just go to the reactions tab and put your hand up and we'll just get into it. One breath question so we can get as much information to and help to Stefanie as we can in the little time we have left for questions. So I've started, the first person I have is Brian. What's your question?
Great. Thank you so much for sharing today. It was really good to hear what you're doing. Just the first question that I've got is, and the one question, I'll do another one later, but exactly how much cash flow do you need weekly and monthly? Have you even identified that?
Yes. So, and this is kind of one of those things where it's like, do I say so much or do I not say so much? So payroll wise, our expenses are really low. And one of the things we're looking for expense wise is actually, we have a commercial office and we have been remote for over a year and 2 months. We're actually leaving this commercial office for that reason, because it just doesn't make sense. And we've been fortunate enough with the customers we do have actually finding us out of state. So now this first time this year, because the pandemic, honestly, we started having more customers out of state. In terms of numbers, we're probably hitting just, I'm going to ballpark it because I have it on a spreadsheet, but I'm going to ballpark it, probably 18 to 22. And that's partially because I pay myself really low. So between myself and my husband, who also is part of this business as our SEO department with his side of things, as well as that we get paid the least out of everybody. And that's mostly, again, with COVID last year and everything, it was just like, we didn't want to get rid of people. And two, that's what you do. Honestly, that's just what you do. So around that time frame, I would say it's about that much. So overhead in terms of expenses, though, we're really low, especially if we get rid of our commercial space, because for the software we use for even our servers, and that's the pivot I made before with the website maintenance, is the servers maintenance and hosting. That's still work we do, but it covers the expense of the servers. So we get profit as well as covering those expenses. So for the most part, I just even think from our web maintenance alone, our fixed costs are covered, but our payroll is not. And it's partly not that the retainers or the project-based work that does not cover our payroll. It's more of the fear that, what if we don't get a big project in 2 months? Or what if this project waits because a customer decided, I want to save money to write content, and then which has happened, takes months. I had to fire a client this year for taking 2 years. And that's really hard because, again, you're building a relationship with the client. So for the most part, cash flow, it's around that 20 to 25. And then expenses are a little bit higher than there, but they're relatively, I think, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's under the 3 to 5 to actually operate from all the software we use, the licensing we use, and in general expenses.
Okay. Yeah, and I just think knowing that number, you can think about what are the services that you can provide that takes care of that. So that way the rest of the business is profit.
Right.
So, it's one thing that's good to have that number. So thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. So my next question's from, Leif.
Hey, Stephanie. First thing, the presentation, I really liked it. It was 2 slides, maybe 3, I don't know. And it was very great storytelling. Yeah, so it's I'm going to reflect back to you immediately that I'm sure you know this, but storytelling is one of your huge things. And so as you're talking to clients and telling people about your business, I think put you in front of the spotlight more. That's great. And my question is, do you interview your customers? Do you take them out to Starbucks? Do you buy them a little thing to say, can I talk to you about your pain points? Like, what else in work is not working for you? And find out who your existing customers' challenges are. Do you do anything like this?
Yes. The biggest thing we do that's different is we ask what went wrong. Because usually when we get someone, it's something went wrong, or there was a bad experience, either with a developer or someone they had, or an employee or something, or there was just a mix. Something happened, because it must have changed their mind, where someone keeps telling them, for example, SEO is notorious, is that, well, everyone says they can rank me 1 on Google. What makes you so different? What's the whole process? And we actually talk about, well, to rank on Google is just kind of marketing common sense, so to speak. You have to put in content. You got to make sure the tech is there to actually get it searched, and you have to follow these steps. And we explain that. Then we show that this is how we've done it for someone else. This is why, if it's a technical issue, like sometimes I'll look in the back of the website and there might be no metadata, or there's some type of issue with errors in terms of the structure that's of the site itself. And so we'll do like an actual technical audit, not a report that a thing spits out, but we'll actually do a technical audit to explain why. And then we'll actually do a proposal or a statement of work prior. And then in that statement of work, we list the entire process of how we do business. And that time, that customer acquisition is pretty high in the sales part. But for the sales side, everyone I've talked to, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm so awesome, but I have a notorious high close rate when I finally talk to someone, because usually it's where they never talk to someone one-on-one to say, okay, here's the problem, which you're right. A lot of customers, I think, would benefit of just having someone saying, I'm a business owner too. I went through this. I know why it's scary. This is why it's not. And this is where we can work in your budget to actually get there where you need to go, which is another problem, is usually we're a little bit too nice. I'd like to say I'm too kind, because as opposed to trying to be the same price level as some of our competition, we try to build that relationship more, as opposed to charging as much for a bill, because we know that customer's going to continue with us. So we're not charging something that's...
Sure. So my reason I asked that was because You said you've got your arenas you play in already. You wanted maybe another arena adjacent that you can use as more of a cash flow mechanism, something that's like more cash cowy and less whatever the opposite of that is. And maybe not necessarily asking questions about what around with SEO, things you already do, content marketing, but like in your business, it's very logical that your smart team of people could solve other problems for them that you've never heard of in niche industries. Like you're talking about, you have people that are plumbers, so you have people that are these industries. Like I'm sure there's things that you might not be hearing that don't come out in those normal conversations, pain points for them that like they never talk about because they're like, oh, there are marketing people, but maybe it isn't something that's solvable.
They actually do tell us. And the two things that they've told us, which this is the part of, I actually attempted this, and that's the problem as well. But the two pain points for those industries is usually a really good CRM system that works with them, that's not either overpriced or something that's very dialed into what they do. Or two, there's some type of internal procedures of organization that is an issue. Because if the marketing, the website's coming in with leads, usually I have a couple customers that there's enough leads, they can't even close them because just the amount of stuff coming in, because it's an internal problem. So I on a lark a couple of years ago, I actually developed my own CRM system in hopes of doing this and trying to sell it. I gave up on that idea because it was a lot of time. It was a lot of technical time. That was a whole other business. And I decided, you know what, let's work on this. This is my quote day job before I have my other entrepreneurial sites to set out another problem. But that comes up a lot. So instead as part of it, we'll get phone calls. And this is part of the time, the profit per dollar time, is that they'll call me and they say, hey, I have 4 CRM systems. What do you think I should pick? And it's great to have that kind of back and forth relationship with a client. But at the same time, that's not really making me money. And that's the tough, because that's the part I don't want to give up, because that's the part I really enjoy, is helping our clients. But I don't charge per the hour of consultation time unless it's been stated beforehand. So they'll just call me.
Okay, got it. Yeah, it is a challenge. And then I'll just leave you one thing, is that maybe you can offer trainings. I know I work with medium-sized businesses all the time. They just need a training structure for how to close leads. The tried and true stuff that they might not know. They're professionals in their industry and they might just not know that type of stuff for their salespeople. So anyway, thank you. Great presentation.
Yeah. Thanks, Leif. Yeah, there's a good vision here of like some side hustles. I'm going to jump in because I don't get to easily choose myself, but Stephanie, I loved like that you do what we want every business to do, which is like care about their clients and give them like transparency and have a relationship with them. And it is like, that's why a lot of companies don't do that nowadays, is because it costs a lot, takes a lot of time and energy. And I think like in that sense, all I would say is that to me sounds like something that's worth more. Like I would pay more to have that relationship, and it's worth more money. So perhaps like a way to make more money is you work hard, you show the transparency, you show what you do, and then you say, I ask this much more money for that. Because if that person's had a bad experience with another marketing organization, they will pay more money to receive this better relationship to ensure that doesn't happen again. So maybe an easy way to start getting more cash flow is to like up your prices, because you have a really important differentiator. Okay. I'm going to jump onto, okay, guys, from now on, we have very little time. So everyone, 1 breath questions. And Stephanie, we're going to challenge you to give like as close as you can to 1 breath answers. Okay. It's good practice as well. We like doing this to help with it's like coaching within coaching. Okay, so next was Kareem.
Hey, Stephanie, how are you? I've deeply appreciated your presentation, and I know I've got 1 breath. Hopefully I can catch up with you right in the breakout rooms. My sense of things are that you're deeply competent. Your team is deeply competent, like a steak, right? Like solid and powerfully competent. What I was listening for is sizzle, right? And my question, actually, let me stop everybody. May I please kind of lower my hand? I've got too much to say in 1 breath. So
no problem, but Kareem, we'll make sure that we put you in a room with Stephanie afterwards. So yeah, sometimes we can't get it in a breath, which is totally fine. And we'll take for granted that everyone absolutely loves you and you can jump to your question. Jolene?
My one question is, what part of this fills you up most? Like what lights you up?
In terms of the presentation or in terms of my business?
Of what you do in your business, what are the things that you love?
I'm going to sound like a crazy person, but I love the fact that I get to basically experience a business in another category that I wouldn't have time in my lifetime to do. I get to be the business owner of someone else, and I get to watch how they grow, and I get to understand everything about it without having to live it. And that's fascinating. Like, there's stuff you would never know. Like, I didn't know how certain businesses would run and trade, and the type of people who run and trade, or product advertising, or different industries. So for me, it's more of like, ooh, I get to investigate how people operate.
I totally get that. But what part of the work that you do, like the day-to-day tasks that you do, which ones of those light you up? The other one, solid answer, totally get it. Yep. But what things do you do?
Honestly, I like talking to people. I like strategizing with people. I like going through the overall process. That's because I know all the different nuances in terms of troubleshooting the technical side, because I had to teach it. A lot of our employees are entry level. I had to teach it to make the product we have now. So for me, it's more of this part where I help a business owner understand the concepts, and then also just talking with people. I feel my one attribute, which is, as we've kind of seen today, which I'm already messing up with, is I talk a lot and I explain a lot, which is a pro and a con at some points. But my husband makes jokes whenever I'm talking or I'm working. It's like, gosh, you're on that phone call with a customer for an hour. I'm like, yeah, but we talked about everything in their business, and we went through all this stuff, which pro and con in that kind of case. But I do love that part.
No, I think that's a pro. And I think that's what you focus on, and that's what you charge for, because that's where they're getting the best value from you.
Totally. I agree. Okay, we're all going to jump people into we've all got a lot to say. So Jay, I'm going to give you your shot in the one breath category.
All right, one breath. Here we go. In my work at the library, I have been involved in the Small Business Administration's Emerging Leaders Program for the last quite a few years. And one of the things, and those are all businesses that are kind of expressing similar kinds of problems, like how that you're talking about, in terms of like how do I grow this, and do this in a smart way, and one of the tools that and so here's my question is like, are you already utilizing industry ratios either for yourself and or for your clients, or in investigation for your clients, sort of to bounce up your numbers against what's the norm for my industry?
That's interesting. I kind of know them, but I don't know them for certain. Like, I don't know them by the book of what's industry. The trouble part is, I think agencies are on a spectrum. And I think because I put myself in the center, what I have dubbed the mid-market type of agency is that we go for a very certain type of annual revenue client, that we sort of are in a nomad space. Like, there's not a lot of people in our category. You're either a guru or a small team of like 2, and you only do one thing, or you're a big agency that does one thing really well in that category, like let's say a website, and you do like the technical, the really custom stuff, but you have a team of 25, and then or you're in social media, but that's all you do. Whereas I tried to create a company where the solution was, well, the small business needs all of that, but they need it at a price that they don't need everything in the kitchen sink. They need a little bit of this, little bit of that to actually get them there. So it's tough from whether or not a benchmark per se of where we're doing well, but in a service-based category based on our monthly profit to our expenses, I think at this point, with one of the changes we did recently, we are doing better. But for the most part, as every service business, it's up and down. Again, based on project-based work, we have a really good month, we have a really great month. We have a really good month, we have a really great month. So based on that service-based, I think we're pretty average. But because our expenses are so low from being virtual, it's really that it's starting to go up, because our expenses don't have to get any higher, but our payroll, depending on what we can take on, may get higher. But also just in general, our profit, if we start going out of state, or if we start increasing our prices, for example, that could just bring that percentage much higher. But I don't know the exact ratio or percentage. I would say, I think the average for service-based is 20%. You want to try to do 20% net profit by the end of the year, I believe. So I think we're on track for that this year, but with the pandemic and everything, it's been a weird kind of numbers game of tracking, honestly.
Awesome. Yeah. If you need those numbers, I have a couple of tools that provide them by industry. So you could look at marketing consulting or marketing, marketing and advertising, and see what the norm is. And
I'd love to see that. Yeah. In terms of,
I wouldn't suggest that you like just go with that, but understanding what the norm is can help you with some strategy there, possibly with if the norm is 5%, well, maybe I want to bump mine up to 7% in this category, so that that's my competition. So it becomes a strategy rather than just sort of a unknown question mark.
Yeah, I'd love to know that.
Yeah, drop your awesome address in the chat or direct message Stephanie, because he's always got the goods on the stats. That brings us to the end of our Q&A. Little known fact, well, maybe I was in marketing and a marketing agency, and so the back end, all of the communication is half of the challenge with your clients, because no one knows what you're doing, and then marketing agencies screw you over by not telling you anything. Say, just trust us, it's too hard for you to understand. And then what Stephanie's doing is amazing in that area, and it is very time intensive and labor intensive, but I'm so glad you're doing it. We need more honest people in this area. Thanks so much for sharing your presentation. Just one last little question before you go. We like to ask this for everyone, so let us know what we can do as a 1 Million Cups community for you, Stephanie. Is there anything that we can do for you?
Honestly, just more of this, getting out in front of more people, getting out in front of the type of customer, because I think once I talk with people or explain this to people, I think the story, as we've talked about, catches on. Like the concept of what I'm trying to do in terms of this overall product or relationship is very different in our space. And so part of it is just getting in front of people and trying to learn how to do that for certain groups, just because I think that's the toughest part, is that people are so nervous that they're being sold to with sales that essentially they forget to actually have a one-on-one conversation. I've had networking meetings where I've shook someone's hand and they're looking around ready to go attack the next person. It's like, can we meet for a second? I desire, you already shook my hand, let's talk. So I think from one MC, it'd be great to just, again, continue just the relationships here, as well as maybe see if there's introductions beyond one MC as well.
Awesome. So let's find some opportunities for Stephanie to have more chats with people and share the story and vision down the road, obviously safely and COVID safely at the moment. So if we know any of those, we send them over that way. Stephanie, I think Eric put your details in there, but if you want to also put your address or anything like that, your web address, do feel free into the chat. So just another 1 Million Cups anniversary next week on Wednesday. Don't forget, put it in your calendar, more emails to come. Okay, and so we don't miss out on our time. I'll just run through this so we have some time to chat. So do apply to present. Great to hear that Stephanie wants to do this again. So she's definitely going to come back for a refill presentation, which I'm excited to hear. I'm not going to put you on the spot like that. But apply to present. Please do just go to 1millioncups.com/Seattle and bring us your beautiful business so that we can beautifully brainstorm with you about your challenges and where you're going, and share the journey with you. You just need to want to try something new and be willing to ask for help from us, and want to learn by getting involved in these conversations. If you also want to get involved, we are always looking for more volunteers, because it takes, as much as even if it's a Zoom call right now, it takes a lot to create these events. And when we're all busy entrepreneurs who are doing it, it seems even more. So we'd love to get more organizers. If you feel like doing that and being involved with our Wacky Zany team, please email us at seattle@1millioncups.com. And now we're going to go into breakout rooms, because we love to connect, that third pillar of the 1 Million Cups world. So what's going to happen for our breakout rooms is that if you haven't done this before, is that we go out. Here's as 1 on 2-ish. We'll maybe throw a few more people in your room, so it might be like 3 or 4-ish. And have a chat. Turn your video on if you can, as long as you're not driving or doing anything that really doesn't require that. Pajama pants are okay. and keep that conversation going, chat about more of Stephanie's thing. I swear to God, I could talk about how marketing is like not transparent, and this is an awesome concept for days. But wherever it takes you, go there and meet someone new. So let me just check and see if Eric's has been making the breakout rooms, which is great. Sorry, I'm still sharing my screen and I'm trying to work out. Did anyone say anything interesting in the chat that I have to worry about? No. Okay, did I forget anything, guys? Ladies, folks? Okay, well, enjoy chatting. Look out for more fun information about our anniversary next week. And if you can come in person, if not, don't worry. And we'll see you next week. So excited. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Stephanie.
So thanks, Stephanie.
Enjoy.
Thank you, everyone.